Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Pierre-Paul, Design Studio Solutions Specialist for Autodesk. Welcome to Dynamo 101, Introduction to Dynamo for Alias. Now, I have Alias 2025.1 open. I'm going to go under Palette, Transform, and go ahead and launch Dynamo. So I'm launching Dynamo, and we'll have a quick tour of the interface. Okay, if you see here, this is the Dynamo interface. So you have the top menu, just like any other software. It's sparse, it's not a whole lot to see. So I'll show you Dynamo here, File, Edit, View. So those are the controls you can do, zoom and pan. We'll get into that in a second. Packages and help. So if you go into packages, you can go to the package manager. So you can search for packages. If you're looking for a certain type of pattern, for example, you can also publish a package if you have nodes that you created and packaged up that you can share with everybody else. You can browse for install packages. Right here, I don't have any. I don't have any packages myself. So this might come in handy later. For the beginning, we're not really gonna get into the package manager, but at some point we'll probably have a look at that, but that's for the more advanced level. Close that. Under help, you have some very helpful stuff. So there's two things here. You have samples here, right there, or you have samples as well here on this side. And samples are really helpful. They show you some samples of code that you can use, and I would highly encourage you to look through these. So here, sample. So for learning, on the bottom right, you can actually look at interactive guides here. So for packages, getting started, there are also some video tutorials. You can, if you want to look through these, those are really helpful as well. And on the bottom left, you have the discussion forum. When you're more advanced, maybe if you want to ask some questions answered. And then you have the website and the primer. So I will open those real quick. And here you have the dynamobim.org and the primer. So the Dynamo primer is where you go to if you want to start learning. If you click on go to primer, it will come up here. The primer is a really good resource. If you want to start learning Dynamo, I highly encourage you to go through, step by step into the introduction and anything else you can see here. It's a really good resource. And if you want to skip ahead and learn through there, it's actually a really good idea. Okay. To start a new file in Dynamo, and just go to File, New, Home Workspace. So we went through the file menu. So now this is your library on the left. And those are all the things you'll need to start building your code, basically. Let's say geometry, and let's go to point. Let's go to point. And let me show you something here. See, there's a plus, there's this little lightning bolt, and then there's this question mark. And the three things are different to do different things. Everything is grouped the same. So if you look in your curves, go to an arc, you see that you have creation, execution, and query. So just be mindful of those three things. When you want to create something, there's three things to remember: creation, execution, and last one, query. Correct. So here, let's go to I don't know, doesn't matter. Let's go to point. So the point, and we'll go point by coordinates. If I click on that, right here, it creates a point by coordinates. And up here, I'm in the graph view navigation, meaning that I can actually move around this space. So in this space, I'm going to start building my nodes. So if I zoom out, should probably go back to the beginning. Left mouse button, click and hold, it's highlight. So here I can highlight. Middle mouse button and hold, I track, and then the right mouse button is to look for stuff. So looking for stuff in the library, you can look at items in the library, and if you click on them, if I click add, see it adds something here. But I could also right click and say point add, and actually would point the exact same node. So two things: you can either go to the library and drag drag and drop, or you can just right click and start typing. Either way. All right, let me delete that. Let me delete this, delete this. If I double click 1, 2, it enters a code block, and this is just a block of code. If I type in, I don't know, 1, so this is number 1. And now here I can actually go click on here, connect to that, and this is 1. What if I said I want to connect to here and connect to here? So now I have a point in space that's 1, 1, 1, and you saw it move down here. So if I left click, disconnect, then it goes back to 0. And this is a good point. Well, let's go back to the node itself. So here we have points by coordinates, and we have 3 inputs: X, Y, and Z. If I hover and hold, is it X coordinate double, default value 0. Now, when it says double, it actually means it's a decimal point. So don't let that fool you if you see double anywhere else on your coordinates. This node here is actually a block of C code. I forgot if it's C plus or C++, I'm not sure. But this is a block of C code. And when you type in C code, if you type in double, that means that it's a decimal. So the only thing it means is decimal. Okay, so on the left-hand side, we have connectors for X, Y, and Z. And on the right-hand side, we have an exit coordinate, which is kind of nice. So inputs on the left, outputs on the right. Okay, and this node here is called point by coordinates. So underneath, there'd be a little script written in C that says point by coordinates, but instead of us writing that, we just drag and drop and create it. It's kind of nice. On the bottom right, we have what's called lacing node options. You click on node options. If I go down to lacing, right now it's called auto, and lacing will become important later. So there's other options here, but the key thing is to remember this. Right now it's on auto, and we're gonna leave it on auto for lacing. So here we have a point by coordinate, and I can see my point at the bottom on the grid. So you're probably saying, okay, what if I want to look at this point? If you click on the enable background 3D, if you click on that, all of a sudden your nodes become, almost invisible. And now we are in a 3D space. So to move into 3D space, left mouse button to track, middle mouse button, dolly, track, tumbles, all right? So dolly first, track middle, and zoom on the third button. If I want to go back to my nodes, right here. So what if I just showed you a circle? I could show you a circle. So let's go to curves, circle, a center point. Click that. And here I can say, all right, let's do a circle here. And now if I double click, 1, 2, I can say, I don't know, let's go 10. And then 10 into my radius. And now here we go. We have a circle of 10. And obviously I could probably change if I type in 3, 6. Now you can see how typing this all the time would kind of get old really quickly. So what we can do is click this, delete it, and then we can look for a slider. So I can either look here for slider, it's under basic, or I can look under right here, right click and say slider. So you have integer slider or number slider. I'm gonna go with integer because they're full, like 1, 2, 3, 4 instead of 1.1, 1.2. So integer slider here. And if you click on the bottom, you have 0 to 1, step 1, meaning that if I start at 1, and the step meaning every 1, so 1, 2, 3. Here, if you switch to 10, then this will go obviously 11 because I started at 1. So let's just keep that for now and then connect this to here. So now if I change the slider, my circle changes. So here I'm just gonna go step back to 1. So now I have a circle and it changes all the time. Something else you need to be aware of is the bottom left, and this means that run mode. So what does that mean? Right now it says run completed automatic, meaning that it compiles the code all the time. Every time you change something, it will reconnect. If you look at the bottom left, see that run completed, run completed, run completed. If you have a very complex node, then this might take you minutes, maybe hours. So here, if you switch to manual, it means that if I change that, nothing happens until I say run. So let me go to, I don't know, 53, I'm gonna say run. And now my 53 is here. If I change that, 26, nothing happens until I ask for a run. So that's the run mode. So in our case, because right now everything is gonna be pretty straightforward, let's go to automatic. And right now, automatic. Okay, with this established, let's try another script. So I'm gonna delete this circle. I'm gonna delete this point. And what I'm gonna do is get a cuboid. So geometry, let's go to solids, cuboid by corners. So this creates, a cuboid, meaning a rectangular cube, basically. And we have a low point and a high point. So by default, the low point is 0. And by default, the high point is 1. So what we'll do is we'll change the XYZ coordinates of the high point with sliders. So here I kept my slider. Let's put it here. Now let's find another point by coordinates XYZ. So now we have a point by XYZ coordinates. The low point is 0. We're gonna keep it there. We could probably just type in origin 0. So that way we know it's low point is 0. And the high point, if we're gonna look around this way a little bit, just to the side. High point, foreign coordinates are here. And now we see you have a yellow warning, meaning that operations fail. The high point is not working. So if you have an orange, that means that you have a warning or something is not working in your file. So let's go ahead and unconnect that for now. Okay, so now I'm gonna have an XYZ point. So I'm gonna do Control-C, Control-V, copy-paste, Control-C, Control-V, copy-paste. And this is gonna be X, Y, you can actually see it here, and Z. So now I have a point XYZ, and I'm gonna go ahead, connect that to the high point, and that's where my cuboid goes. As you can see that, the point here is here, here to there, and there's the cuboid. Let's go there, I'll zoom out a little bit. So now I can actually change the look of my cuboid just by using the XYZ sliders, and that's pretty cool, to be honest. I can even make those even bigger because I am in millimeters, so I'm gonna say let's go to 1000. I could actually maybe delete those two and then just say copy paste, say here, and then copy paste to there, XYZ. And now we have a huge cuboid. And again, my units here are millimeters, so this is gonna be, shouldn't be too bad. Okay. All right, we got to this point, that's great. We can now make a cuboid and change the size of that cuboid to anything we want just by using sliders, and that's great. The problem is now we still have no way to connect this to Alias. So how can we make this script available for Alias? So a couple of things we can do. First thing is we're gonna make this into a script that is playable by the Dynamo player. What we're gonna do is to make those inputs available into Alias. So the way we do this is you click on it. First, let me rename that. If you hit rename, right click and rename. let's say input X coordinates. And do 1 to, that's fine, let's say, let's do 1 to 1,000. Why not? Accept. And I'm just gonna go ahead and delete those two. I'm gonna say, and now I do have a warning. So if there's a warning, that means that something in your script is not working well. So here, the operation failed because now I have some zeros down here. So it's giving me a warning and it says no, meaning that it cannot execute this cuboid because the 2 points are right here, they're in line, so it's not gonna work. So you need 3 dimensions to make a cuboid, so right now we only have 2. Anyway, let's copy this and rename this y coordinates, copy and paste, rename the z coordinates, accept. Now XYZ, reconnect those 3. Okay, good. So now I have input X, input Y, input C, but I still don't have any access to Alias. So what I'm going to do is right click on here and say this node now is an input. This node is also an input, and this node is an input as well. That means that when we run the script, those 3 will be available to Alias, the user. Say, okay, what would you want as coordinates for X, Y, and Z? And then once we're done with this execution, I just send this back into Alias. So close that, get to Alias, and here we have send to Alias. Click on it. I'm gonna put it here, so left to right. And I'm gonna connect cuboid to the top, send to Alias. I do get another warning. Let's have a look. It says Mural workspace must be saved on disk. That's fine. So let's do file, save as. And I already have one called cuboid, so I'll overwrite it, hit save, yes. And now the warning is gone. So I can actually go into Alias and use the Dynamo player. Okay, so now I'm in Alias and let's go to Dynamo player. Double click. Here's where's your script location. So we're gonna open it. In my case, I saved it under the DYN files. So it's under demo. In my case, it could be on the desktop in your DYN files and cuboid. And say open. So what this is gonna do is gonna play the script I just created and send it back. So here I'm gonna say let's auto update. And now I can see the cube in the background. Let's make it bigger. So I can make this big. And that's our first script. And it's a nice little script that will make a cube. Make it, as big as fun as you like, to 1,000. And you can play with those values with the player. The reason I want to create this script was to show you the power of Dynamo first, and also to show you how you can use scripts. There are scripts in Dynamo already, so if you go to the Dynamo toolbox, all the scripts function in the same way, meaning they'll have inputs, and then once you figure out the inputs, it will generate something for you, such as a pattern, a subdivision, or edit a subdivision, for example. So you go under the help section, Dynamo resources, Dynamo player help. It will pull up with this page right here about the Dynamo player. Once you load the Dynamo player help, you will see this page. And if you want to learn what each script does into the Dynamo player, you can go to the sample scripts. Here where I'll tell you what every script in the Dynamo player does. All these scripts, all the help section on the Dynamo player, you'll be able to find out what those scripts do for you. Thank you for watching and catch you next time.